Welcome to iETV Live. That is, it's energy. We're looking for the solutions that energize us. I'm your host, Bill Rogers, and today we'll be talking to Dave Bonta, whose mission with his USA Solar Stores is to bring solar to Main Street. And then later, it's Jack Bingham, who runs the Seacoast Energy Alternatives local solar store. That's iETV, connected people, products, solutions that save you. What I find interesting in talking about that, leaving Bridgeport and sort of a industrial town that's contracting, falling apart, and then moving to is that in some ways the back to the woods, back to the land movement was away from industry,
right.
Anti-industry, anti-large accumulation of people and
decentralization.
Problems.
Right.
But one of the things that you just talked about in Springfield was seeing this industrial heritage as well as an industrial presence. So, and actually what I find...
if you're going to live in the land, you still have to have, even the Nearings had to have what they called some kind of a cash crop, some way to make a living. And our needs were very light, very light. We figured we could live on $1,000 a month. This is $12,000 a year. It would be, but to do that, you pay for your house up front. You do all your building with your own labor. We put in the solar panels. We put in the water system. We put in our own septic system. We put in the things that would require almost no money for our future. So it was easy to just say, okay, all we need is a little cottage industry, and my printing press was going to be that. But still, printing or any business needs customers, and we set our place up within 12 miles of a city that appeared to have viable businesses in it. And our thinking was, okay, well, there's people there working, and we'll work with them. We'll provide very low cost printing options for them, and that was the plan. It didn't. It was only about a year before we started to see that whole economy start to erode.
So what is this? You've got this notion you just mentioned of maybe other people would like some of this too.
Yeah, there's so much that we can do. I mean, you hear big picture. I mean, I even heard it today. Our economy is still in free fall. We're looking at another 18 to 24 months of recession. You look at every state, pretty much, except for I think it was North Dakota, is in real trouble with deficit. You look at so many of the problems that we're having in the world, from climate change to unemployment to war to all these things running away. And you say, well, what can I do personally about this? And, I don't want to be a big ego here or anything, but I think if somebody wanted to just take a look at and lay it on a piece of paper, how they live, what they need to live, I think they would realize that they could start cutting out a whole lot of the crap that's got them tethered to a lifestyle that just doesn't make any sense anymore. And I think, we didn't think that much about it world changing at the time, but I think the Nearings were setting an example of how to change the world. And by us picking up their example, I think we came to that same kind of place that, enough of us, little people, just doing that much might just make a change. And who was it? Was it Margaret Mead or somebody said, never doubt that enough people that have the right idea can change whatever. It's never been done any other way. I think that's really where it's at, and I think it's being proven in my life now by this collaboration chain that we've created of solar stores.
One of the aspects of why we seem to be in a hole is that when a number of people saw this quite a long time ago, but there was no infrastructure, and the industry at the time was very difficult to create a system of scale to compete for renewable energies, to compete at that point. And so it seems that the economy of scale is there seems to be something else going on right now.
Well, yeah, There is an economy of scale, of course. Anytime you build more of things, their prices are going to come down. And more acceptance for renewable energy certainly will make the costs come down. But that isn't the real driver that I'm talking about. What I'm really talking about is using less. The way we had to sell solar when we first opened up the store was the same way that we adopted to it ourselves. We decided to use less of things, and then we could afford the solar. The first quote I had for solar was really $70,000. If I had to try to scrape up that, I never would have been able to move to Vermont. So we looked to why do we need that much solar? And we looked at that system, and it was a large system. It was a very large system. And we thought, well, it's for 20 kilowatts or 40 kilowatt hours a day. Do we need that much? Why are we using that much? I mean, we'd heard that there are African villages that use 1 kilowatt a day or 1 kilowatt for a whole town or something. So I thought, well, let's just look at what we're using. And our lighting, for example, we have 200 watts of light on every hour here in this house or every room. Let's see if we can cut that down. Let's look at our water consumption. Let's see if we can use low flow shower head and smaller volume toilets or maybe composting toilets and cut the water down for that use entirely. Let's look at front loading wash machines, or let's use carpet sweepers instead of vacuum cleaners. Let's look at rugs that could be taken off the floor and taken out and cleaned. Let's look at brooms instead of vacuum cleaners. Let's look at everything that we can, from electric toothbrushes to heating blankets or hot blankets or whatever. Let's just look at everything and see how little we can get by. And we took a checklist of all the things that we were using in the house. We had 40 kilowatt hours a day we were using in that house in Brantford, Connecticut. And we were actually able to go down to 1 on paper. And we thought, hey, well, 1 kilowatt a day is a 4 kilowatt system. Let's see if we can afford that. And that came out to be a system that was around $6,000, which we could afford. So we had $70,000 as our original quote, and a system that we put in ourselves for about $6,000. And that was back in the day. There were no incentives whatsoever. So we just ponied up the cash and we put it in, and we said, let's see if we can live on it. Now, I'm in the business, and I can actually have all the solar panels I want. And we still have, I guess we did put a couple in more, but it's like 1.5 is what we make a day. 1,500 watts of power we use a day. And it's coming from just a very smaller solar electric system.
Smaller scale, using less. Does it feel like you are
sacrifice?
Yeah.
I thought I was doing pretty good, but one of my store owners in New Hampshire, he was living on 500 watts a day. So, and I've been to his house. It's really where it comes down to is waste. You can live the good life. You can enjoy all the things. We have the television, though we don't watch it much, which was probably one of the best things we ever did. I know this is on TV, but people watch entirely too much TV. They've quit reading. That's a whole other subject. But we have an LCD screen, and it uses very little, and it's on a power strip, so we shut it off when it's not on. So it's only on for when we're watching it. It's very little amount of power. We have a big 5 CD changer and all the amps and all that kind of thing, but it's only on when we're using it. It's not on. The microwave, the same thing. It's on a power strip. The coffee pot we make, we're making our coffee with solar. It's a drip pot, but as soon as it's done, we pour it into a thermos, and it's an insulated thermos. The surprising benefit of that is that the coffee actually tastes good hours later, whereas if it's sitting on this hot plate, it just boils until it's mud. The other things that we did were just all common sense, and you start to look at it and you say, we really don't need to have that kind of waste in our lives in order to live well. And one of the first things I do when people come for training in Vermont is I take them to my house. And I walk them through, step by step, the things we did and why we did it. And all of a sudden they say, this is actually a very nice way to live. And it's a responsible way to live, too, because you don't feel guilty about what you're using because it's absolutely appropriate. And then you see the sun come up in the morning and say, hey, today's a good day. We're going to do the wash today, or today we're going to hang clothes. Well, it all works out very elegantly. That day that the sun is coming out, we're making hot water, we're making solar electricity, we're running our wash machine, and we're hanging them out to dry. All in the same day. It's all very elegant and appropriate scale.